Forgive me if it's noisy on my end, guys, as I am the streamer. My computer is trying to go at apparently 10,000 RPM because it is way too hot for it to act here, given that temperatures are way above normal. So, just an early warning for you guys in case there's any noise of like humming from my computer. I hope it doesn't explode. You never know. Could make it interesting. Anyway, over to you, Owen.
Leave Roger Moore alone.
So, why does it always have to be my shows that this happens on?
Yeah, when we did the late shift, my internet was the worst it's ever been.
I hereby am now absolving myself from ever being involved in a poll again because I seem to create problems every single time. Yeah. So that's a weird way to start the show off. Cold open, I guess it doesn't match Ashley's computer at this point, or the weather at any of our locations at this rate. I don't know what it's like in West Virginia right now, but I do know that here in Florida, it's like 90, jeez. I'm going to go with 89 degrees, so that means probably close to a 100 real feel right now. So I'm guessing everybody here has got a heat wave, pretty much.
The thing on the computer here says 85, but I don't know how accurate this is.
My work computer today said 85 too.
But real feel, 85 is probably like in the 90s, wouldn't it be?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's been humid as hell for weeks.
Accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome. Episode 7 of Popcast Movie Club. We've pretty much decided that since you guys and girls love the QA shows, we're going to start doing our polls on the QA shows. So we don't have just one person voting and just basically skewing the entire thing. Yeah.
Let's just check the live. We do have 4 people in chat, so we might be in luck this week.
We'll see. For those who's not able to join us tonight, she informed us before we went live. I don't know who all is joining us tonight. I see Brian's in chat. Brian, don't even get me started on this. Seriously, do not bash this movie until... Just shut up. Shoot up. Shut up.
Dude, he's our most loyal viewer.
I'm aware that he's been bashing this movie for a long time now, man. Seriously, Brian, give it a shot. I know it's not for everyone, but this is a movie that I really enjoyed. And it may not be the greatest movie in the world. Hey, Tim. But it's something I like, so there. I mean, I don't bash marks like sports and stuff. So needless to say, leave Airheads alone. I'm going to turn into that leave Britney alone guy again. So yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to talk Airheads tonight. And I'm sure, Brian, you'd much rather us talk about the candy. But we're not. No, we're going to be talking about the movie from 1994. I love this movie. I don't care, and I will not apologize for it. There's a lot of these 90s comedies that I really enjoy, and a lot of them that are going to end up on Movie Club one way or another, somewhere down the line. I already have planned for it to happen. I kind of have ideas for it to happen. Movie Club's not going anywhere. I'm having fun. And that's what you guys need from me right now, is me to have fun and not be stressed like I usually am. So yes, we're going to have some fun tonight, and we're going to talk about a good old fun 90s comedy. I discovered this movie just out of the blue one time, and it was one of those we talked about before, like Revenge of the Nerds and Moving Violations. This was another one of those. This was filmed off of a VHS copy that my grandmother introduced me to, and she would just randomly tape things off of television and the pay-per-view channels, and sure enough, this was one of the movies that came across, and I've liked it ever since. It's always something that makes me laugh. It's instantly quotable to the point that I basically was playing fill in the blank when I was watching it the other day, and I can still remember most of the actual dialogue, like the Lemmy is God speech. I've used it in actual conversation before. And AJ can vouch for this because he heard me do it. So,
I imagine another thing that helped you memorize it was I feel like me and my brother probably saw it the first time the same way, which was it was one of those movies that was on constant rotation on Comedy Central for the longest time.
Oh God, yes, that too. That's before we lost Comedy Central. Because Comedy Central, see, I remember, and Chris, I don't know if you remember back in the day before Comedy Central was one of those like pipe dreams that before it actually came to our cable company. Comedy Central was something that I would have to like get VHS copies of episodes of South Park and like Viva Variety, of course, my love for the state. And these were things that I never could actually see. And then when we finally got Comedy Central, it was like, ooh, they have movies. And they have lots of movies and lots of movies I enjoy and like I grew up watching. So yeah, let's go. So that was one thing I really enjoyed was seeing this movie over and over again. I know this movie by like almost word for word. And I returned to it many times throughout time. Thank you, binaural Dean Dean says to me, this is a classic. Fraser, Sandler, Farley. Yes. Thank you very much. Cameos from the Ghostbusters cast, of course. We'll get to that later. Yeah, yes, Robin Quivers, we can go ahead and do this. Speaking of that, we'll talk about Sitter and John later tonight. So yeah, before we get started, because Ashley knows how to give me the Iggy, we're going to go ahead and go into the Polski. So yeah, basically what it's going to end up happening is, for those of you that are lucky enough to be in live chat right now, you get to decide what episode 8 is going to be. So we have 3 choices, and I am out of the running because this is my episode, and we're going to have the first pick ever of Chris being a part of Popcast Network. Chris, you're going to go first here. What is your choice for Popcast Movie Club episode 8?
My choice for this week is Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
Very nice. I like this already. So, Ashley?
I'm trying to work out how that I can fit it in with only so many characters. My selection, I gave a hint to the guys, but I don't think they were expecting anything like this. I thought, let's go cultured, let's go world cinema, let's see how it's made in other places. So, for the princely sum of $85, I am submitting 2015's Who Killed Captain Alex from Uganda.
I have heard so much about this. I've never seen it before. This will be new to me. I've heard it's super artsy, which sounds fun.
I'm wanting to do something that I know is on YouTube, and they obviously want people to see it on YouTube because it's been there ever since it went live 7-something years ago when they premiered it. Rather than like having to go through hoops and whatever. Although, admittedly, you know, with the last few films being on HBO Max, it's less hoopy than it could have been compared to frickin' Sleuth. But yeah, that's my submission. I'm just getting the year for Mask of the Phantasm. Right.
And AJ, what is your final pick for the poll?
Well, I'm pissed. I had a nice list of choices I was gonna consider as we go on, and I seem to have misplaced it, and I don't remember what the hell was on it.
Oh no.
So I'm just gonna. But the one I think I was planning on anyway was one that I mentioned we were gonna do before, and it's one that, because of something recently that happened, I brought up that it was definitely gonna happen, but it was gonna happen even before that. And I gotta be specific because there's another movie with this title. Jonathan Demme's Something Wild from 1986.
Hey, we have your choices, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Ashley, for basically forcing my hand to what the next pick I'm going to go with is. So, So the poll is up. You can see it.
There it is.
Clear as day.
I wasn't sure whether it was going up because it wasn't showing up on my end. I guess.
And before we do get started, again, it's just I've been like super cranky all day, so if I go off on anyone, it's nothing against them at all. I just don't want to. Just a little positivity here. I understand that it may not be your cup of tea, but give it a shot. You don't like it, that's fine. Just go into it with an open mind, just like I did with another movie this year that I absolutely hate. We'll talk about in about a month or so. So,
what as far as like where Airheads stands quality-wise, I do have something to mention about that.
Okay.
And I was trying, because as I was watching it again, I was trying to figure out how to word this, because I know there's a lot of comedies, especially from this era, that I feel the same way about. Where, like, if you were to watch a comedy now that, like, came out now, you would judge its quality on how funny it was. Like, how much you laughed. Like, specifically that.
Sure.
But there's a lot of these movies from the 90s. I don't know if it's just because the humor is dated, but there's a lot of 90s comedies that I really like that I realized I don't laugh a lot during. Like, I realized that I don't know that I think Airheads is that funny. What appeals to me is how entertaining it is.
Very true.
Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, I see where you're coming from. It's like, I mean, I can quote this movie all day, every day, and it's like, I was laughing as I was finishing the line because I could finish the line.
Yeah, because I noticed there's so many characters. The cast is so stacked.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many characters, but the only characters that I felt like I genuinely laughed at were Buscemi and Mantegna, and that's it. Like, as far as laughing out loud. But yet the movie's still entertaining to me.
Sure.
In some way, which we'll go into.
Tim coined the term, basically Airheads is like Bill and Ted, or it's like Beavis and Butthead in a lot of SNL.
The Beavis and Butthead especially, because they may or may not pop up.
weird cameo from the multiverse.
Yeah. I don't like that word anymore. Like, may it be stricken from the record, like the word soon in the Halloween Horror Nights vernacular.
I'll say metaverse then and make it even worse.
And we've already rang that bell once this year. I don't want to do it again. Brian says it's not that funny. I mean, honestly, like, it's not ha-ha funny half the time, but I mean, like I said, I grew up on it, so it's something I'm always going to have, like, a little bit of a
fascinating thing to me is I now know where the major plot line for Alan Partridge Alpha Papa came from. It basically is the same thing, you know, slightly differently and whatever, but it's got the same hot theme of, like, the station changing, you know, genres and whatever, so everybody's getting kicked out and everything. You know, the hostage situation, which is completely being misguided.
The plot also kind of matches Empire Records, which was only the next year, as far as it becoming a new thing, a more modernized thing.
Based on that, honestly, that sounds like a Versus that never happened.
We did Empire Records with Clerks, which wasn't bad.
Took my favorite movie of all time and put it up against one of your favorite movies of all time, and we see what happens when that happens half the time. See, AJ talked about it before, and there's a lot of things that have got the Versus treatment. Versus, I guess, for all intents and purposes, is Popcast Network. Simpsons did it, because Versus already has done nearly everything. There's a couple things I definitely want to revisit that we've talked about on here before, and some ad nauseum. But there's a lot of things that we have never discussed on this network before that I'm picking for Movie Club, and I'm sure AJ will do the same. That we just need to discuss on here. And we never had the opportunity before because we couldn't get a versus to go out, or we didn't have the, I guess you would say, the visual representation of, going back to the original days of versus, the visual representation of the movie itself. Back when we used to create cases from the same DVD case that made our versus battle because we needed an image. So yeah. I'm missing Whatnot right now. Dang, these Monday shows.
Well, you're talking about these comparisons to other movies. What's also interesting is where I talked about how that plot point in Airheads is similar to Empire Records, even though Airheads came out the year before. There's a couple of other things where it's like, oh, this feels like another movie, but this one, it's what was it? Moving Violations we were talking about, where we kind of went down this same road.
Probably.
Where it's like I was like, oh, that's like another movie, but then I remembered, oh, that movie came later than this. It's funny that Beavis and Butthead have a voice cameo in this.
Yes.
Because when we see the scene with that first scene with Michael McKean and Michael Richards, do you get serious Lumbergh and Milton vibes from that scene?
Oh, absolutely.
He's McKean's even doing the same delivery, like, I'm gonna need you to come in on Saturday and Sunday as well.
And it's funny, I wrote it in my notes, and I thought that it needed to be said before we get into anything. It says literally Doug Beach, American Hero. So I'm sorry. It's completing the lines and like remembering the movie like I did. It's like riding a bike. It's like something you've seen a billion times, and no matter how long it takes you to watch it again, you still remember every single word. And I can do that with a lot of movies. I forget a lot of things. I forget what day it is half the time. But at the end of the day, when it comes to certain movies, I can still remember them to this day. Like, I was completing the lines before they were completed on television. And Josie was talking about Encino Man the other day, a couple Q&As ago. If you don't think that's going to be coming up, you're dead wrong, because I love that movie. I used to be able to do the dance. And bringing Pauly Shore to Popcast Network is something we've never been able to do. So it's going to be something we need to do in the Army now.
Well, I said it then, and I'll say it again. I would love to talk about Encino Man. I'd be more than happy.
Tim says they're trying to make a Airheads 2. That'd be interesting.
So I guess this would be the best.
I would think they'd be out of prison by now.
Oh, for sure. They only did 3 months in prison.
and Fraser is on a comeback, so this would make sense.
You could use it right now. The only thing he's got going for him right now is when he picks up a cup of coffee. Well, if you know.
The Mummy ride. Yes.
Bingo!
What would that be about?
Don't know.
Because the message of the movie is essentially do something drastic and illegal and you will succeed.
It's a dated trope, but I could see it being something along the lines of their popularity's faded, they're doing normal jobs, and they're bored.
Yeah, and they're trying to have like it kind of becomes Wayne's World 2. They kind of try to do their own Wayne stuff.
I'd be all down if they hopped in a van and did like a road trip movie.
That'd be fun. I would like this. After Brian goes out of prison after 3 months, why? Good behavior. It says so in the actual text.
It did. I mean, it seemed like a low sentence for what the charges were.
Yeah, but I mean, unlike some things we see today, at least they face consequences.
I mean, it was kidnapping, but not, but it was. And then it was like theft, and it was not, but it was. And it was assault with pepper spray.
The only way I could think of that they would have such a low sentence is all the hostages like really testified in their honor. But then again, to even get a trial, wouldn't they have to plead not guilty?
Yeah.
Maybe they took a plea deal.
To be fair, Milo's the only person that got attacked with the pepper spray. Because you don't count the Stretch Armstrong, because that's an inanimate object.
Well, I'm guessing
Unless we're in
all
the
the
Toy
other
Story world,
assaults
in which
were.
case he suffered. He suffered greatly.
I'm guessing all the other assaults fall under self-defense. Like when one moment that does always make me laugh is when Reggie Cathy realizes that the gun's fake, and he just screams "die" before he charges it.
He punches him and he yells it's a BS gun, and everybody's like, they grab him and they throw him against the side of the truck, and then all of a sudden the gun gets dropped by Michael Richards and the gun goes off, and they're like, what do you mean? It's a real gun. You're going back. Let's go away now. And I love Reggie Cathy anyway, obviously. I've talked about him on this network several times. I remember.
That was a big loss to the industry when we lost him.
Tell me about it. Don't worry, before this year's over, and I'm not going to make any more comments than this, you're going to talk about Reggie Cathy on this network, and I don't just mean today. Because as Leslie Gore said, it's my party, and I'll basically talk about what movie I want to, so... But no, I mean, there's lots of things to discuss about the movie. Also, if you want to go back to the new stuff now, it's like Pip probably, I have a feeling he's like a pool magnate now. Magnate, like he's basically like a billionaire that figured out like a different kind of above ground or below ground swimming pool, and that's like made his millions. I mean, Susie could be his estranged wife. That's a possibility. I got a feeling that Rex has been fighting with his sexuality pretty much his whole life.
If there's one thing I would want out of an Airheads sequel, it would be to see Buscemi return to this character.
Oh my god, yes.
because Buscemi is forever tethered to three people in the industry. You could say certainly he's reunited with a lot of people, but when you think of Buscemi and the people he's worked with, you usually think of three people, or four people technically: the Coen brothers, Tarantino, and Sandler.
Right.
And Sandler always seemed like the really random one for him, even though Sandler and Tarantino are also close, interestingly enough. But was this the first time we saw Sandler and Buscemi? Like, was this the start of that partnership?
I feel like it has to be.
Because I've always tried to figure out like exactly how that happened.
And it's funny because everybody gives Sandler so much flack about his 90s comedies and the fact that he plays the same character and things like that. He's been doing the same stuff since SNL. But if you look at the character of Pip, at the end of the day, you see some of those Sandlerisms pop up. Like when Rex is trying to get him to be all hard about having the gun. It's like, I can't be a badass with a water pistol. And he's like, they don't know it's a water pistol, come on. And then, of course, he cuts the promo and everything, and then basically you see Sandler come out, SNL Sandler come out, and he just shines in that port. He scares the daylights out of Michael Richards.
He literally does whatever. What do you even call the Sandler thing? Like, you know what I'm talking about? It's the scene when he goes outside and he has that little standoff with Alan Covert.
Oh, you mean the duck soup scene?
Well, yeah, I guess you could call it that.
Because he does the same thing, and the next thing you know, like, Covert grabs the gun, and then he's like, no, I need to get back inside now. And the first thing he says is, all I know is I don't want to go back outside. Hold on. We got Tim. Josie's not in chat tonight, but Tim is bringing the Josie facts. KPBX radio station located at the Fox Plaza in LA. Serves as Nakatomi Plaza for Die Hard.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And, hold on. He's like, what's with that standoff? Again, that was like, it was funny because Pip is so clueless. He's just like, he's such a meek character that it's just adorable to see. I won't even lie. I was trying to find another word for it, but Pip's character is adorable. He seems like he'd be friendly to everyone. I like when he's talking to Vaughn and he goes, why don't black people like me? I don't get it. I'm just trying to do everything right and everything. I'm all nice and everything. And he goes, and of course, Reggie Cathy gives him the business too. So he's just trying to be friends with everyone.
That's another thing where I noticed.
He's Elias. Way before Elias.
It was like, I was trying to figure out if that was dated or not. The way, because as far as like, Pip and his relationship with black people. And it's like...
what's wrong?
Well, the thing, though, is that Pip is seen as ignorant.
Oh, for completely.
The people he interacts with think he's... Like, the scene where he... not that I would compare the quality of these movies by anything, and not that I'm saying Airheads is this clever, at least as far as the other movie I'm referencing, but it's the same... It's making the same point about ignorance. The scene when Sandler's talking to Reggie Cathy, and he's like, oh, Reggie Cathy's black, I'm going to relate to him. So he says, hey, Hendrix, right? Hey, Public Enemy, yeah? That's literally the same point that Peele's making in Get Out when he's at the party, and they're talking about golf, and to appeal to Dana Kaluuya, they say, oh, we love Tiger. It's showing that same of ignorance.
Well, the good thing about it is it doesn't go overboard like some 90s comedies do, and that this stuff would be canceled nowadays. I mean, like, Pip probably wouldn't fare too well on social media, but I don't necessarily think his character would be canceled for this.
I'm trying to work out whether you were trying to be smart there or whether you accidentally were clever.
That could be anything at this rate.
You mentioned about not going overboard.
Oh yeah, that's
odd.
That's the damn it.
So we'll just save that column A, column B. Brian says, "Oh yeah, a character who's labeled as poor, played by Adam Sandler, gets the hot chick and has sex with her."
I mean, to be fair, that's Adam Sandler's career for like 20 years.
I mean, Fraser says it best. It gets more bumper than a body shop.
So many people that he shouldn't have been in relationships with. And it's still to this day, it's going on with Jennifer Aniston in Bloody Murder Mystery 2. Still.
Yeah, I was going to say, to his point, are we supposed to assume, the way Fraser says that line, that Pip does get women so easily? Is that because Pip is so appealing in his way, or is it a joke that someone like Pip somehow has this ability?
I would say it's the second, honestly. It's probably a joke that he would have that ability to do stuff, because it's like, are we Fraser or are we Joe Mantegna in this? Because Mantegna's the one saying, like, what the fuck? How? Yeah, we're definitely Ian at this point. We have to be. Tim says Brendan Fraser is going to be in the new Batgirl movie.
He's playing Firefly.
Interesting.
Michael Keaton's in it as Batman. And J.K. Simmons is Commissioner Gordon.
I'm all down with that one. Bernard Dean says Steve Buscemi is awesome in this one. He's a very versatile actor. Very true. Tim says budget was $11.2 million, but the box office was $5.8 million domestic. It's not very liked by critics. I know that for a fact, based on what I've been reading.
That was actually Sandler's, because you were talking about how people like to bag on Sandler's 90s, but to my understanding now, his 90s are mostly beloved. It's his mid-2000s stuff and forward that's got the really bad reputation, as far as comedies go.
Comedy-wise, it feels like most people, like, obviously you got the people that like the solid things like Punch Drunk and like Funny People, and I know I get a lot of flack for Rain Over Me, but it's still something that's it's good for what it is. But I mean, the Sandler performances before that are the ones that everybody loves now, and everybody's like, I don't know if I buy this. But then again, you get something like an Uncut Gems, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe he really can do this.
We were on the phone. I think I've had this conversation with my brother too, if you want to chime in. we were trying to figure out where Sandler fell off, because I was thinking the last movie he did that most people liked and thought was consistently funny, for the most part, depending on who you talk to, I guess, was Anger Management.
Right.
And 2 years later was The Longest Yard, which we did a video on, and I think we dig The Longest Yard. I think it's been a little while, but I'm pretty sure. But I do feel like it was. I feel like I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry was somewhere where like the fall started to happen in quality.
That's fair.
Which was 2007.
Yeah, because I think another one of those movies that's kind of gotten a following and people have revisited and enjoyed from that era is 50 First Dates.
That's right after Anger
Yeah.
Management. That might be right when it started. 50 First Dates might have been his last one then.
Yeah, 50 First Dates was right between Anger Management and Longest Yard, wasn't it? 2003,
Yeah,
2004,
04 or 05.
I'm looking over the filmography right now, so yeah.
That'd be really convenient if it was 05, because that'd just be 50 backwards, and I'd be able to remember that forever.
And so it was. So we determined it was basically when he started hooking up with Kevin James when it went downhill.
That sounds like
Because I thought Zohan was a piece of shit too. I know some people took to that one, but because like I said, his '90s output, like Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore, you have to really search to find people that don't like those now. And like I said, Big Daddy is a favorite of Paul Thomas Anderson, and that's what got him cast in Punch Drunk Love.
Yep.
The scene where he screams into the phone and says, "I care about you saving money on this phone call," was the scene that Paul Thomas Anderson said, "I want him for Punch Drunk Love." He's actually said that.
I mean, you have a lot of the GP which really liked Grown Ups, but they're wrong. And then I think everybody like panned Jack and Jill overall, and I think that's when everybody else started to really be like, I don't really like this anymore. This isn't working. I feel like we're the only people on planet Earth that like Pixels.
Well, that's true.
That's a shame.
I will stand up for Pixels, but I know that I actually feel a hint of shame saying that, even after I just said that about Kevin James. But yeah, I'll stand up for Pixels. But oh fuck, what was I about to say just now? It'll come back. Oh, I was gonna say, even though he's made worse movies than the first Grown Ups, I feel like the first Grown Ups is where it was like the blueprint for what would become the reason people don't like his comedies now.
Yep.
Where it's he gets his friends together and they just literally film themselves not trying for 2 hours. Which is just his, when he's doing comedies, is what he's known for now. I actually didn't mind Murder Mystery too much because it had an actual plot. But when it's stuff like Grown Ups and Blended and Jack and Jill I feel like I still stand by. People say what they do about Jack and Jill. I still stand by. I think Just Go With It is his worst movie, apart from maybe Grown Ups 2.
I've heard arguments before, going back to Anger Management, I've heard arguments before that started to show cracks because Anger Management ended up being the Nicholson show.
Yeah. I mean, their back and forth is great, but it's like, when I think of the funny stuff in Anger Management, I think of Nicholson, as I assume many people are that way.
And then you gotta have, like, I mean, I think Hotel Transylvania is fine.
That's usually something else you'll hear people say is an exception.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't forget, Anger Management also has John C. Reilly.
Yeah, because we did an Anger Management video and we talked about how, much like Buscemi and Airheads, your question is, wait, when did this person come to the mix? Because they're a serious actor, and we determined, I think, that we determined something about Riley and where this started.
Wasn't it like right after Chicago?
Yeah, the next year, right, like fresh off his Oscar nomination, Anger Management came out.
Yeah.
And not only that, but it was a part like that.
And Sandler seems to be good because he's worked with John Turturro a few times, who really excels in serious roles.
I remember what it is now. Riley was a Nicholson connection. They know each other, and that's how he got on Anger Management. And then Riley just kind of went to comedies from there.
It was his Tracy Walter for anger management. He wouldn't do it unless John C. Reilly got a part.
Brian says, can we talk about that character that goes through the air ducts featuring dumb jokes? We're going to talk about Doug Beach, don't worry.
What I do find interesting is a lot apart from the obvious. The other thing that Michael Richards was often criticized for, I said, apart from the obvious, was that he didn't really have much outside of Kramer in his career. But I think
I will fight you on that with Stanley Spadowski.
Stanley Spadowski, 100%.
Because when you really watch Kramer, obviously he had a lot of the great lines and a lot of the great moments. But what Michael Richards really showed with Kramer was how much of a genius he was in physicality and physical comedy. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what they were going for with his character here. And that's why most of the movie is just him like throwing himself around. So you can't quite get the skill that he had for physical comedy from this role. But I like the idea that they seem to be pursuing that. Let's try to utilize him as a physical comic, because that's one of his more overlooked strengths.
Which is so funny because Chris Farley is right there. I don't remember him doing any kind of physical comedy whatsoever.
Yeah, not even one cartwheel. It's not a Farley movie unless there's one cartwheel in it.
When everybody is charging the stage and he screams holy and you know that things are about to happen, I have a feeling he probably took a nice little cartwheel bump when he was getting knocked around by everybody trying to rush the stage.
And we talked about yesterday that one of his famous bits in Billy Madison is when he's getting everybody on the bus and he says good, great, grand, wonderful. I'd forgotten he said that in this first.
Yes, he did. So yeah, like lots to talk about here. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight. Like I said, we're gonna get into some more things here. Like really interesting the way that this comes off. So it's a very basic story. It's basically just Chaz Darby trying to make it with his band. He kind of sneaks in to Palatine Records to try to get his demo played because people know about solicitation, and solicitation is going to be how something gets eyes on it. And if you don't have that, then you're not going to get signed. See, the cat knows.
I was gonna hold on to this because I feel like a broken record, but you kind of ease me in that direction.
Sure.
What's really funny is that we're supposed to be on Fraser's side and understand him, and we'll get into that because like I said, it's weird. Remember when we did Mr. Ripley and I said that Tom Ripley is not a character you should relate to?
Right.
But you do. Yeah. When you're trying to get success in an entertainment, like I said, I feel like a broken record at this point, but when you're trying to find success in an entertainment industry, it is kind of weird how many relatable things Chaz Darby says in this. But it's also the same thing, though, is when he goes to Judd Nelson at the beginning, and Judd Nelson says, I can't take that, it's not solicited.
Right.
Judd Nelson's 100% in the right there.
Yeah.
That is absolutely how it works, and for a reason. Because I wrote something back in like the 2008-2010 area, and I had Will Smith in mind for it. So I'm sure my brother remembers this, we called Overbrook Entertainment, his production company at the time, and we talked to some very nice people that ran us through that. We said, like, what do you have to do to submit a script? And they went through the whole thing, why solicitation is important and how it's for both parties.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, Judd Nelson was absolutely in the right there. Like, that's something that Chaz should have researched.
Yeah.
But then again, Chaz has lines where he says, where really just the whole idea of it, where you feel like you have the right thing and you're just one shot away from success. Like if the right person sees this or hears this, that's going to be it. And it's like, that's a really relatable feeling. And then the way he says, like, you can't wait for something to happen to you, you have to make it happen. I've heard that so many times said to me. And like I said, I was just talking about this yesterday again, my existential dread because of this, where it's like, oh, time is moving fast and I'm gonna die soon and I'm still not successful yet. And it's like it's actually a pretty profound moment between him and Mantegna when he shows off his Grim Reaper tattoo and he says why he has it, where he says death's constantly chasing me and it's gonna get me if I don't do if I can do something and death gets me, it'll be okay.
Right.
And that's pretty deep for this movie.
Completely. And that's when you have things like that and like all the slapstick and all the comedy. There's some poignant moments in the movie. There really is.
I think a lot of that Reaper scene too comes down to Fraser.
Oh yeah,
How he portrays it.
So
you could tell that by today because people were pulling so hard for Brendan Fraser to get back.
Yeah. What is that about how Fraser does those moments a lot better in this movie than he does the comedy? But I think Chaz also isn't given very many good lines as far as comedy lines.
Not really.
But like his, like I can't remember. Like, but why does he pronounce penis as penis? Is that a joke?
I have a feeling it probably. I mean, it's from Iowa. So I don't think that's it. That's his explanation right there. So.
Then he calls them like butt somethings. You'll remember. You have all the quotes.
What is it?
He calls them like butt somethings or something butts. It's a weird line when he's
you look like half a butt puppet is the line.
Yeah. That's an interesting line.
It's a 90s term, honestly. It was like he's basically talking about how he's basically playing for the bands and their girlfriends and not really getting any like visibility with anyone else. He's like, don't talk to me about rock and roll. I am rock and roll. And then, of course, he calls out Jimmy Wing. And, of course, everything is being said over the air because Ian clicked them on at the same time. And then Milo comes in. He's like, guy's off here. It's like, and then he makes the mistake of calling Rex Hollywood Boulevard trash, and we're off to the races. Because them fighting words in L.A., good sir, 100%, especially in the 90s. They don't really get started until about 13 minutes in. That's when they break in. That's when they break in successfully to KPBX.
Do you guys have a particular favorite character?
I'm a tough. Everybody's got their point.
I would say Joe Mantegna just because he's not playing a gangster. It's like it's the only time where I've seen him where he isn't like Fat Tony from Simpsons or.
And
it was him
Ashley,
in Baby's Day Out, right?
God, yes. I was about to say
the same year. The same year as this.
I was about to say that, and it's funny that you're bringing that up because the only thing that comes to my mind with him, the fact that you just basically said, oh, this is the one time that Joe Mantegna is not playing like a gangster of some sort. His character's name is Ian the Shark. So he still has a gangster-style name, even though he's not a gangster.
Coming from where disc jockeys in the 60s had really stupid nicknames, no.
Yeah.
It's not gangster. It's just pirate radio.
And it's funny, the Lone Rangers line that he drops. Because he's like, what's the band name? And then is like, the Lone Rangers? Well, that's original. What do you mean? Well, first of all, if there's three of you, you're not exactly lone. Shouldn't you be the three Rangers? And they just, here's the point, there it goes. Watch it fly far, far away. And they totally just missed the point right there.
You love movies. I know you. You love movies about bands where the band has a shitty name. Because if anybody doesn't know, you are also a huge fan of That Thing You Do.
Oh God, yes, I love the Air Eaters.
And it feels like a similar joke. And weirdly enough, once again, this predates That Thing You Do, doesn't it? I think
Yes,
you do
it
something
does.
in 96, isn't it?
It was 2 years later. Yep.
Yeah, I'm with Ashley on Ian. I think being my favorite character. I think it's because not only because he's typically a serious actor, because I could really anything I could say about him, I could say about Buscemi as well.
Totally.
Especially their scenes together. For some reason, like I said, there's not many laugh out loud moments here for me, but the weirdest things get me. Like the moment when Ian finds the box of CDs that Michael McKean's been hiding, and he flips it. And Buscemi's just standing there and approvingly goes, "Yeah, dude." Just moments like that.
I like the follow-up
But-
line to that when it's like, he shows the shorts. He's like, "What are these?" Well, they're shorts, Ian. They're little pants with little legs on them.
And it's but the thing that I love about this character, I think, and the fact that Mantegna is normally a serious actor, is he commits to this performance.
Oh God, yes, absolutely.
Like once again, another one of my random favorite lines is when he's starting to introduce the song, and you can just kind of get the hint of sarcasm, but yet he's still got that perfect radio voice where he says, "I've got goosebumps, frankly," and it's just deliveries like that really work for me. The way he's like literally doing Barry Champlain, but also just completely begrudgingly.
He sang the Lone Rangers through gritted teeth when he says it. Clearly.
Which of course has
I
the
love that
follow-
you found
we
a
have the
way
fo-
to bring Barry Champlain in with him without talking about the hair.
Yeah,
That was masterful work.
it must be a radio thing.
Gotta be.
Yeah, because at the beginning of Private Parts, Howard Stern had the same thing going on.
Yeah.
Another thing. Put a pin in that. Don't worry. We'll get back to that eventually. Trust me.
Oh, Talk Radio and Private Parts is already a versus on this channel, by the way.
Exactly. Check it out on this network.
I think I'm pretty sure it is, right? Yes, I'm pretty sure.
It got me to watch Talk Radio the first time.
All right, yeah.
So the cameos. We talked about the Mike Judge cameo doing the Beavis and Butthead voice, which was great. I love that. There's a couple more. So when Chris Farley goes to look for Kayla at the whiskey, White Zombie's playing.
Yep.
And it's crazy to think about that because, like, there were times that, like Cannibal Corpse was talked to try to do that scene, and Metallica at one point were talked to do that scene, and they fell on Rob Zombie. Interesting.
This is 1994. I'm assuming Cannibal Corpse was busy with their cameo in Ace Ventura.
That sounds about right. Another thing, Stuttering John, bringing up the Private Parts reference, obviously. I want to talk about him being involved when he yells, "I used to masturbate constantly," when everybody's kind of basically just saying no matter what Chaz has done as Chester Ogilvy that it doesn't matter because we're all Chester in the world. I played D&D too. And of course Lemon's like, "I was the editor of the school magazine."
It's the nerdy Spartacus moment.
Exactly. And I like it a lot.
Also have to love that we keep talking about stuff that's been happening the same year. Gotta love that Ernie Hudson plays a cop in the same year as The Crow.
Yeah. I do appreciate the Ghostbusters reunion, though.
Yeah, what was up with Harold Ramis and his like 20 seconds of screen time?
Or Capitol Records. You guys are the hottest things as Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Marky Mark, that guy sucks.
I immediately started trying to remember if Steve Buscemi and Mark Wahlberg had done a movie together.
I will say the idea to figure out if he's a cop or not, I just love Mantegna's response. Is like, who would you pick, Halen or Roth? And he's like, Van Halen. He's like, he's a cop. And then, of course, the wrestling match between Lemmy or God. Trick question, Lemmy is God. I love that. It was great. That delivery's amazing. Oh, we got more comments. What was that? What was that on Chris's screen? Pingas? Brian, what the hell is a pinga?
Was that when the cat was his screen for like 20 seconds?
I saw a random cat influence here. Brian
Good.
says, "God dang it."
I wish you were still framed like we were before we started. Before we started, only the cat's tail wasn't framed, and it looked like it was your tail, and it was a hilarious visual, and it looked like you couldn't control it.
Nice. Brian says, favorite character? None. Kayla is the stupid character. Nearing the climax, when they got back together for a bit, a fight occurs, then make out and show they're back together. Yeah, that's called relationships nowadays.
It does. The movie does come to a halt when she gets to the studio. I will give him credit for that.
Well, here's the thing, though. I said this in the notes. I was like, how did Kayla realize where she threw out the tape? He literally just goes,
Okay.
and I mean, she's not Mary Tyler Moore, so I mean, God knows where she actually threw the thing.
Okay. I do have a compliment to pay the movie that's very out of left field.
Okay.
And I apologize to Ashley, who's just sat down to eat, because this is a little bit gross.
I don't know what we're talking about, so.
I'm paying the movie a very bizarre compliment.
All right, okay.
The scene where I don't know why this is something that has always stood out to me, always, every time.
You've piqued my curiosity.
Eventually, a dog takes a piss on the tape.
Yes.
And when she goes to pick it up, we can still see the dog piss, the puddle that it's in. When my dog got to be at his really old age, where he couldn't hold it anymore, I had to deal with dog piss a lot. That was really authentic looking dog piss. That was.
You're saying you had like what a pink flamingo situation going on?
That consistency was spot on.
Wow.
My only question is, was that real dog piss? Because that's commitment.
Let's go to just somewhere down the line, just run into Adam Sandler and Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi. By the way, Airheads, was that real dog piss? Seriously, was it? Tell me now.
Yeah, the director.
I want it to become Sandler's version of Bullock's Three Seashells.
That's funny.
What is? I would say you'd ask the director. Michael Lehmann's the director of this.
Yep.
Which is very interesting because Michael Lehmann should have been a huge, massive director because of Heathers.
Oh, absolutely.
Yet somehow Heathers was the peak of his career. I always found that really odd. There's so much problem because Heathers is such a well-made movie. It's like, how was this guy not huge?
I now having looked at the plot synopsis, I know why they barely show 40 Days and 40 Nights. Because in this era of sort of like speaking out and Me Too and everything, the fact that the character there basically gets raped at the end of their 40 days of celibacy, like the director sort of like really didn't do great stuff after Heathers, really.
Not to mention 40 Days and 40 Nights just sucks all around. That movie's just fucking terrible.
Yeah.
In every way.
And then there's that one with like Mandy Moore.
Because I said so.
Yeah.
I am the resident Mandy Moore mark on this network, and I have no problem with that.
Truth About Cats and Dogs. And the other one that I can't remember. And then the writer. It's depressing when his biggest claim to fame is the Triple X franchise. Literally nothing came from it.
Maybe it's because Mark Wahlberg's so big in the industry now, and he had the line in there that Marky Mark sucks.
This is the reason why. This is the reason. God bless American Dad. Go ahead.
I'm going to go ahead and commit to this conspiracy theory that Mark Wahlberg ruined this guy's career.
That's a fair assessment.
It's as solid as when I said Kathy Bates would get nominated for Richard Jewell.
Yes, based on a screenshot.
Odd. Tim brings up a comment in chat talking about Sandler's comedic roles, including Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, The Waterboy, The Wedding Singer, Big Daddy, Mr. Deeds, 51st Dates, and The Longest Yard. Is that a fun career?
So depending on who you are, that's a pretty solid lineup.
Extremely solid lineup. So it's funny because Mace is like...
Waterboy, nice bait segue, by the way. Unintentionally.
So yeah, it is a little bit of telling of the fact this is a 90s movie that when they get the power turned off, the way to get it turned back on is chanting Rodney King at the top of their lungs.
That seems
that's a back in the 90s that would have been fine. Now not so much.
Wasn't Rodney King really, really fresh at the time? Like, hadn't it just happened?
I think that went down in '93, I believe.
Yeah, because I remember when In Living Color did the parody.
See, that's weird. I turn my nose up and I say, "Ew, that's not a great joke. That's kind of icky." But at the same time, I laugh in Jingle All the Way when Sinbad is crushed at the store screaming Rodney King. But that was 3 years after this. There's more time at that. Or 2 years after that, whenever it was. I was also trying to figure out how prominent Beavis and Butthead were at the time because of their cameo. Because I was trying to remember, they started in '93. I think Frog Baseball was in '92, and then the show started in '93. And then there was this, because my first thought was, did this happen before Beavis and Butthead was a thing? But that's not the case. But they were very new. Because I'm trying to figure out how Beavis and Butthead like incorporated into this.
Frog Baseball is 92.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it sort of like does come from nowhere, and then of course that's when they decide to use the R word that rhymes with Plutard, which apparently was a bit of a controversial issue in Estonia because it got subtitled as Tiblad, which is basically sort of a slur against Russian people during the USSR times. So it's not exactly the same, but I guess they just like, okay, that's a generic slur, let's just use a generic slur that's used in Estonia that nobody else would get if they are watching the Estonian subtitled version.
I was gonna say, wow, I'm kind of surprised and impressed that this was controversial in 1994, and it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Context is key.
See, we really haven't talked much about David Arquette here.
Yeah.
He's not a character that a lot of people like. His only like high spot is when he's playing Game Gear in front of the magnification. And that
I don't understand why we get that shot twice. First of all,
there's no reason to get it twice.
Yeah, I was gonna say I love David Arquette. I really do love David Arquette. I just don't know that I love David Arquette here.
No, I've never liked David Arquette in this movie.
It's sort of a weird like, wait, what's he doing in this film? You know, because would this have been one of his earliest things?
It's gotta be.
Buffy was 2 years prior. I think is that the earliest thing I know? Where the Day Takes You might have been around the same time as Buffy. I don't remember for sure.
They were both 92.
What's that?
They were both 92. Yeah, both 92.
Everybody's in Where the Day Takes You that eventually became famous.
And obviously, to me, when it comes to Arquette, after Buffy, it goes Airheads and then nothing until Scream.
Oh, wow.
I mean, for me, obviously there's other things.
For him to go from this to Scream, that must have been a hell of an audition for Scream.
Well, speaking of the the Demi Connection, The Beautiful Girls was 1996, and that was the same year as Scream. But I mean, when you look at movies that I recall, it basically for me he went from Buffy to Airheads to Scream, and nothing until Scream 2.
Yeah, just looking though, he did one season of Parenthood, the TV series based on the film, and then The Outsiders as well. He did one season of, which exec produced by Ron Howard and Francis Ford Coppola, respectively. What the hell happened there? That's before Buffy as well, all that stuff.
Well, AJ, you talked a lot about Ian the Shark. One of the best things about him is the fact that he starts out just basically being like, I'm kind of here, and I don't know why you guys are here, to becoming a friend to the Lone Rangers, which is awesome. And one of my favorite things is when Michael Richards comes out of the ceiling with his Uzi that is completely ridiculous. The fact that not only does he have a gun, he has an extremely powerful gun that ends up going off, and what does Ian do? He uses the baby bottle to knock the gun out of his hands, and he holds the gun to Chaz, and he goes and hands it to him.
Worth noting, this is all thanks to Paul Verhoeven veteran Marshall Bell, who has a very interesting part in that.
His wife leaves him for a pool friend, like, hey, here's a gun. Let's do this.
I love the fact
people typically know Marshall Bell as things, either from his.
I'm just looking at like his first paragraph that's on when you look a cover over the link on Airheads. And it says how he's known for Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Stand By Me, Twins, Total Recall, and Starship Troopers. Like, he does all genres. I still don't know which one he was supposed to be playing in this.
I always forget he's the coach in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, but I was getting ready to say you either know him for his Verhoeven movies or the fact that he's the bad guy in Twins. I feel like that's...
Fair.
And then, like, this is the only thing it's also the only thing that I've seen Ernie Hudson in, outside of Ghostbusters.
Not The Crow?
I completely forgot he was in that, because I haven't seen that in a while.
Oh yeah, we brought it up while you were gone. I said it's funny that this came out the same year as The Crow, and he plays a cop in both of them.
Yeah. And Oz never really got... I think when Oz was shown over here, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning on one of the channels, so I never really saw it. So I sort of missed out on that.
He's also... Ernie Hudson's also great in The Basketball Diaries.
Nobody watched Mr. Magoo?
Oh, God.
I do not remember him being in Mr. Magoo at all.
He's rivals with Stephen Tobolowsky.
I do not remember Stephen Tobolowsky being in Mr. Magoo either.
Oh, he is. Oh my gosh, that's right. Holy crap. Brian asks, still at 2 votes, what will happen if we have a tie? Do we do the poll on Twitter? That gets less visibility than the network does, sir.
That's a good question.
I mean, okay, so there's 3 of us. If there's a tie between 2, do we just let the third person decide?
That's what I was thinking. Either that or I decide. No,
I love how silent that made everything.
Of course. No, I think that'll work. If you guys are not voting in chat, if we're still, then if we do get a tie, then the person that is not in the running for who's gonna between the tie is going to break the tie. I'm good with that.
Nobody wants to see who killed Captain Alex. Nobody wants to explore.
I'm really curious about it. Like I'm excited to know that now that you've submitted it, we will eventually get to it
Yeah.
because from what I've been very interested to see what exactly it is. It sounds so interesting. I guess.
I think I pretty much figured out my pick is actually that's going to be the next one is also going to be from the same year too. So we'll keep that under wraps for now. So yeah, another thing I want to talk about real quick is we're kind of getting down. I love the line "If it's too loud, you're too old." I've always used that. That's always a fun one.
I'll say that in the car when I'm driving. If I can't think and I turn down the music, I'm like, oh, damn, I've gotten too old because it's too loud.
You said the same thing after we saw The Fifth Element too. You're like, am I getting old? That was really loud.
Yeah.
I wore earplugs at the Water Parks concert at House of Blues so my ears didn't explode. And I would wear earplugs on Friday at Sad Summerfest too because I need to get my ears okay for Horror Nights in a month or so. So
wrestling shows and wish to have earplugs for the entrance music.
Yeah, no, that's not that bad. Now, if you're like close to the pyro for a WWE show, yeah, it's a different story. But I mean,
I was right beside one of the big speakers at an NXT live event.
Oh dear.
I'm sorry, you went to an NXT live event.
No, this was black and gold. It was black and gold NXT.
Oh, real NXT. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
That's
good NXT. Yeah.
So, Judd Nelson, who's still effing harsh, arrives. AJ, he finally arrives at the end of the movie, and Horror Nights friends looking like Mike Aiello. So comedy for me is still comedy. And Milo has been like the de facto heel this whole movie, but he has no power to do anything. And he ends up being the one that has to get this contract notarized, get everything taken care of. Jimmy Wing shows up, and of course, they're like, okay, fine, they're going to get a record contract. They finally have a record contract. And Pip's like, well, I'm getting ready to play the song for them. I was like, they haven't heard the song? We already heard the song. It's great and everything. And it's like, of course, earlier in the day, he goes, if it's in English, then it's a gold record at least. So, of course...
Has, I don't really follow music, but has K-pop dated that at all?
Oh, God. I don't know at this point.
Where it's like, it'll only be famous if it's in English.
Oh, gee. Yeah, pretty much. I'm sorry, the line he wipes his ass with his record contract, I love this guy. I've always loved that line. And then it's great because Jimmy just basically like works the cops for more demands so they can have a stage. And then, of course, Kurt Loder, of all people, shows up because it is the 90s after all. When it can be mattered.
There's so many 90s movies with Kurt Loder cameos.
Tell me about it. And he even questions the term Lone Rangers.
The first one I think of course, is Dead Man on Campus.
Oh, yeah. Like, you never know. We may get there someday. Who knows? But yeah, it's like you finally have the big performance, and then the drum starts, and the next thing you know, Chaz like plays the guitar, and boop, nothing. So what does he do? He just plays that one riff and lets the music play, and everybody goes nuts for it. And I love the transition from them basically crowd surfing to being in prison in the jumpsuits, playing, and then we lead to the final scene of the movie.
It is, yeah, they had a short sentence, and they're gonna be successful afterwards. They went triple platinum and all of that.
Yeah.
Do you not think it would have been a funnier ending if they got the full consequences and were never successful? just the real, like, you have this very outlandish concept and then just smack it with realism when it ends. That would have been hilarious.
Oh, you mean like Kayla there with like looking all angry with like 2 children, and next thing you know, you see Brendan Fraser, his hair is completely gone, he's like half bald and things like that.
It's like,
This is how life works.
it's like American Graffiti, where the movie's all happy and all the characters are running around and everything's great, everybody's young, and then we just get smacked with and then this is what happened when they grew up and it's all bleak.
It seems fitting. It seems fitting.
I think with that,
I feel like Pip is not going to live very long. I don't know where this comes from.
I was gonna say Pip gets in a fight with the wrong person in jail, and it ends with Pip getting a chair.
honestly, no. I feel like Pip's gonna be the type of person that befriends like the most hardest guy in the entire group, like the guy that's the biggest, like he's in charge of everybody, and like Pip becomes friends with him, and that's the reason why he's untouchable.
Or what you were saying about him, you know, taking a chair shot. Were you talking about the electric chair or a regular chair?
The electric chair.
Yes.
I was literally thinking of taking like a chair to the head, and I was thinking he could do what Patrick Starr did, where he's an idiot and then he takes a shot to the head and then he's smart. But
So
I
you're
really
saying he takes the chair shot, we get epilogue 2, and he's given like the fucking commencement speech at Yale.
it's like a Flowers for Algernon kind of thing. But now it's been brought up. I think I like the electric chair thing the most.
Now let's make it even bleaker. Chaz and Buscemi have to play the guitars to power up the chair.
Oh my god.
Good Lord.
What is that, a punishment?
Yeah, that's
And
how
we find out it's because the warden's like Milo's brother or something.
So we basically transitioned. We started the show talking about Grease 1, and now we're talking about Grease 2. We have officially jumped the shark. Time to take it off.
Yeah, what we're really saying is that Airheads 2 that we talked about at the beginning basically needs to be Shawshank. Only this warden will make Bob Gunton look like a cakewalk.
Oh my god. At the end of the day, it is just the normal 90s comedy. You may like it, you may not. I find it funny. I think it still rings well to me. It's still something that I can quote to this day and have done on here, as you have just heard. And I feel that there's nobody on the panel that dislikes it that I'm aware of. But
I didn't
everybody
dislike
liked
it, but it
different way.
wasn't like anything that I would actively want to watch again. That's why I'm trying to picture Who Killed Captain Alex. I'm not going for a good film. I'm going for something that's an experience.
And everybody on this network knows what happens when I watch movies like that. It's going to take 18 times to get through something like this.
Yeah, just from what I've heard about it, I'm really curious already what you're gonna say. when I don't even really know much about it myself.
Well, if you want to go that route and we're going to push in that direction, we're going to Canada sometime soon, AJ. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Brian says, sorry, Owen, it's not one of the worst movies I've seen. I still give it an F on how dumb this movie is. Dude, you never gave it a chance. Like shoot. Like, you've been, like, bashing it since, like, we started talking about it. I get it. I understand you don't like the movie. That's fine. All of us are entitled to their opinion. It's okay. It's no big deal.
I think I've worked it out perfectly. Because, you know, we're going to get one of the other two's films next week. Or, sorry, 2 weeks. And the other in 4
2
weeks.
weeks.
And then 6 weeks will be, I guess, if we are going to do it on the final Monday of the month, Who Killed Captain Alex will be right when we get to Oscar predictions. So we're going to go from, like, one side to the other. Yes! That's how it
That's fine. I got no problem with that.
That's a smart
All right.
move.
So yeah, if you liked the movie, if you didn't like the movie, hopefully you at least got something out of it, whether you didn't or not. Not all the movie club picks are going to be something everybody's going to enjoy. I get it, 100%. Kat gets it. I'm sure everybody else gets it. So at the end of the day, thanks for tuning in tonight. Honestly, hearing us talk about Airheads. Next week is dark, which means I get to go to Whatnot and hopefully going to get this major pod hat and Smart Mark Sterling pin and card set, but that I missed out on tonight because we were live during the show. So hopefully we'll knock that out. And you'll hear how much money I've spent on water parks merchandise on Friday at Sad Summerfest. Oh. It's going to be a couple bills. I won't even lie about that. That's just how it is. So I think that is going to be your show for tonight. Oh, by the way, the next time that we can talk, you never know what may end up coming up. We may be able to talk about various other things like potential activities happening on the weekend, or maybe things that could potentially come up when we have an official announcement for all of the houses and scare zones for Halloween Horror Nights. If we do, we'll talk about it here on this channel because it's the only way I can talk about Horror Nights in a video format. So that's going to be your show for tonight. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you for being a part of the live chat. For those of you that spoke up, for those of you that didn't, thank you for joining us anyway. We appreciate every single one of you checking out our little shindig here on Popcast Network. We'll be back here 2 weeks from today. But first, we must find out. Yes, we are at a dead standstill when it comes to our poll right now.
I'll close it because that's where we're at. So, I mean, logically, you sort of know where this is going, considering what we literally talked about yesterday, even though it was only for sort of like 5-10 minutes. Given that we are in the time of Comic-Con, I think it's only fair that Batman Mask of the Phantasm sort of themes around that.
Oh yeah. Heck yeah.
And we'll save Demi for the summer holiday.
I'm perfectly okay with that.
The summer holiday in mid-August, and then late August, I ruin your lives. Commando. That's a tease. The amount of stuff I am going to be doing on that podcast just randomly, that's just going to get smiles from everybody for no reason. It's brilliant.
Brian, we said this at the beginning of the show at some point. I think it got kind of buried in the show, but yeah, we are going to, from now on, the QA shows are going to be how we determine what the movie club picks are going to be.
There's more people there.
Yeah, a lot more people there. We appreciate how many of you want to hear us chat about randomness and answer questions for a couple of hours. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and on there as well.
I love that we're making this big announcement where it's like, oh, we finally decided that we're going to do polls on the Q&As, and it's going to be a much better way to do it. But we're not going to have a poll for like the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Yep.
24th Q&A, 25th Phantasm, and then for August it'll be the 7th for Q&A, 8th for Something Wild, and then the 21st of August for Q&A, which will have the poll before Who Killed Captain Alex on the 22nd of August.
And I gotta make sure I got this correct because I could be wrong on this. Yep, there it is. So July 27th, I'm seeing Chris Rock. So we're gonna talk about that in August too.
I completely forgot that was coming.
Water parks and a couple later, Chris Rock.
You've had your tickets since what, February?
Yeah.
You had your tickets pre-slap.
Thursday night.
You lucked out.
I gotta miss AEW because of it. This is like the only reason I'm not going Thursday nights because there wasn't a Thursday night before.
Speaking of AEW, I should know in August whether or not I make an appearance on Ethan Page's Toy Hunt vlog for Toy Haya.
Very cool. I'm part of several things from the Live 11 various videos that are around the MakerPod. Which, speaking of that, my MakerPod shorts should be here in the next couple days. I'll be able to wear those. I don't probably show them to you guys sometime when I get them. Because they're going to be all I'm going to wear from for a while now. So yeah, everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. We've had some fun. It was nice hearing from Brian and binaural Dean and Tim Knight and anybody that decided they wanted or not wanting to say anything. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you 100%. We're going to have some fun next time back here on the Q&A show. And then, of course, the day after, we're going to be back with Movie Club. I mentioned before that Horror Nights is not making these shows go away. No, I have 2 days off, Monday and Tuesday. Perfect timing. And the only time that you're not going to get a traditional show for one of the two is going to be award season, because I can't do 3 nights because I don't have a way to do so unless we want to do something in the afternoon, and those don't do well view-wise, so we're not going to do that. So we're going to stick with our nighttime shows. Chris, once again, thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate your cat cameo as well. You must show the kitty to me, please. I must see it because I have not seen the actual cat yet. I've seen Dr. Jimmy style cameos.
I'll have to have her down here for next week. She went upstairs to take a nap.
That's fair. That's what I do. I just don't go downstairs. I just sit in the chair and take a nap. Anyway, that's what it is. So yeah, Ashley, of course, has a snack stash coming your way very soon. Literally should be here like in the next days or so. And you can find him on Twitter at AshIsMyNameUK. Don't know if you're doing anything like visual-wise for Comic-Con or not. I guess we'll see. If you decide you want to do content, you're more than welcome to.
Probably not, because like as it always is now with the Hall H stuff, technically they don't live stream it. It's like supposed to be exclusive to those people. The problem being then if they bring out the trailers, and I don't want to sort of do trailer react stuff, because the one time I did that on my own channel like 10 years ago, like flag, yeah, don't get monetized, so it's like
I have done fine since 2012 with never getting a copyright strike, and I want to continue that.
Considering how the predominance of the news will be in or before or on that Sunday, it probably makes sense to talk about it when we do the next Q&A in a couple of weeks.
All right.
If anything interesting does come out of it. So please be interesting, Comic-Con. Don't be boring.
And once again, as always, you can not catch AJ on any sort of social media in any way, shape, or form. But just like Keith Richards, he cannot be killed by conventional weapons. You can find him if you want to. Leave a comment, and we'll get any ideas for Sip and Snack or Versus. In this case, Versus, or any movie review ideas you have, send them our way. We've got a lot of them throughout the years. A lot of loyal fans of this network have given AJ some great ideas, and we have used them, and we will continue to use them if you give them to us. That's for you, a good fella, Tim. So, and I don't mean my good friend Tim.
I'm literally shooting stuff all summer that's going to be coming out consecutively throughout September and October.
Yeah, because I'm going to do it here on this network except for Monday and Tuesday. So needless to say, it's going to be the AJ show, like it is every single year during Halloween Horror Nights. If you want to follow me.
I also wanted to make an announcement. I will be reviving my Instagram probably in the next couple weeks to post pictures from personal toy hunts.
That's cool. I like that idea. Put that over as well. And I got unboxing videos I need to do at some point. I got this huge closet full of figs I need to like unbox, but we'll get to that later. It's like in that area over there. So yeah, I'll look into that. So that's gonna be your show for tonight. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for listening. Until next time, have the best day ever. Stay very nice, very evil. Stream Funeral Grey. When Brainwash comes out, stream Brainwash, and definitely take a shot. Stream Self-Sabotage, because it just came out. And until next time, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.